59-count indictment yesterday. Saratoga County DA Jim Murphy announcing against Dennis Drew, the 22-year-old driver in the Northway crash that killed two young people and left two others injured. And joining us now, legal analyst Paul Harding from Martin, Harding & Mazzotti. Hey, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, Chuck.
So this indictment, we have, I don't know where to start exactly. There are a lot of issues going on. We have some amount of alcohol and also apparently some amount of marijuana in the bloodstream. How significant is that from a prosecutorial sense? And, you know, the DA had some interesting things to say about the level of impairment, et cetera. It's hard to quantify, but could you kind of put that in perspective for us?
You know, you hit on the key issue here. We've got a 59-count indictment, very detailed approach to this, of course, knowing this is going to be highly scrutinized. But the issues all hinge on what you just brought up there. They're looking at this and they're saying it's the combination of marijuana, which they determine is in his system, and alcohol, which was in his system. And perhaps, from what I'm reading in the indictment, I don't see anything that's clear indicating that individually that there was enough of either substance in the system to bring about an alcohol or intoxicated charge or a drug-related charge. So it truly is this combination, and that is the key to this indictment holding up.
So is there not a minimum level of marijuana in your system? I thought any amount present could contribute to a DWAI charge.
No, that's exactly what they're arguing here. It's going to be a battle of the experts because, as we know, as people talk about the general community, it's about 30 days that marijuana can stay in your system. But for those 30 days, it doesn't always impair you, meaning it's there on a blood test, and therefore they say they're going to go for a job interview and you smoke marijuana, you got 30 days to clean it up. But it doesn't affect your ability to drive for 30 days. So truly what's shaping up here, and if I look at what defense counsel, where Steve Coffey seems to be going with this, is going to be experts indicating, sure, there was some marijuana in the system. Yeah, he had a few drinks, but this combination did not impair his ability to drive. And if that were proven, or I should say, if the district attorney is unable to prove that it did impair, then these aggravated vehicular homicide and vehicular manslaughter charges all fall.
Well, let me ask you this. I know we talked in prior segments about whether his prior driving history can be brought into question in this particular case. And I think you had said no. But when you look at his 22 traffic violations and 4 car accidents in a 5-year period of time, including things like driving 65 in a 30, how can you not look at that as a pattern of behavior?
Sure. So he's a poster child here for what's wrong with these reductions. When you go to these, you get tickets, you go to these small courts around the community, and they're not all tied into one another. I mean, you get a ticket in Half Moon, and you get one in Colony, and you get these reductions. But when you look at it collectively, it's as egregious a driving record as you'll find with suspensions and accidents and leaving the scene of an accident on a particular occasion. It's going to be a court issue. Of course, defense counsel is going to argue to say, hey, how you drove last week doesn't affect how you drive now. But Kelly, right on point, is going to prove that because of the pattern and because of the way this accident occurred, it's very much admissible. It's going to be a judicial decision. Historically, these past events don't come in, but I think under this set of facts, because it's so consistent, allegedly, with how he was driving on the date of the accident, that the judge is going to have the ability to let it in, and it would be quite damning if they do.
We're talking with WGY legal analyst Paul Harding of Martin, Harding & Mazzotti. Now, separate from this case, I just would like to know how someone drives an uninspected vehicle 65 miles an hour, which is highway speed, in a 30-mile-per-hour zone and have it dismissed. And how many more of these kinds of drivers are on the road who have all of these violations that keep getting dismissed?
Yeah, you know, the dismissal could have been a situation where the officer didn't show up. The officer has to prosecute the case, and he may have been called away to a traffic accident or a family emergency, so it got dismissed. Historically not dismissed, but what you're describing is an 8-point violation, and often the 8-point violations are reduced down to 3 points, things like that, until you accumulate 11 and then you lose your license. So the reductions happen. The 8-0, something didn't go correct there. Either the police officer was unable to prosecute the case, or possibly, there was some other technical issue with the ticket. But yeah, that is not the typical typical outcome of these cases.
Hey, let me get you. We only have like less than a minute. I want to get you on a couple of quick things. The DA mentioned about this kid has access to a lot of money, even though he's unemployed. What does that have to do with anything?
Boy, I read that, and of course I know where he's going with it, because after drugs in the car, access to money. But boy, that just feels like who knows? Maybe he's got an uncle who's setting him up and allowing him to have access to a bank account. And then there's these safe deposit boxes. We call them red herrings. I mean, it's sort of looking to really paint this kid as something maybe more than what he is. The implications there are enormous, and I think they did that for that exact reason. They're really trying to paint this guy as just having motives beyond just being a bad driver.
And finally, do you think this kid can get a fair trial in Saratoga County?
I think he can. I know that Steve the other day did say, Steve Coffey said he was thinking about a venue change. Boy, this Capital District is so ingrained in this case. I mean, where's he going to go to? You have to go out of this area.
Right,
so
entirely.
Or something. And I just don't see that happening in this case. It would be generally unprecedented.
Paul, thank you very much.
Okay, guys.
Talk to you again. Soon. Paul Harding, our WGY legal analyst. Martin Harding and Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010.